One of the most requested channels for me to watch is a channel called Animenz, and I have had comments asking me to react to Animenz for years now. And I have also said in several videos that I have absolutely no idea about anything to do with anime.
From Inuyasha?
Is that an anime thing? I have absolutely no idea. So hopefully today I'm going to learn something by watching some of Animenz's most popular videos. So let's get into it. Yeah, so straight away, this is something called Unravel from Tokyo Ghoul, or Tokyo Ghoul from Unravel, I have no idea. But either way, it's based around 4 chords, which is E flat major, G minor, F major, and then G minor. It's a nice simple chord sequence, so you can do a lot of playing around on the piano, and the melody's really clear. Nice, now it's getting more interesting. So this is like a G minor chord, essentially. It's just got kind of an interesting rhythm where it goes... And then it kind of goes down through the chords, so G minor, F major, E flat major, and then D major. It's a super interesting rhythm, and it's one of those things where if you want to get it perfect every time, you're probably going to have to sit there and go... Yeah, when I ever listen to songs like this, melodies are always the thing that I find really hard to remember. So it's easy for me to remember that this is like G minor, B flat with a D in the bass, E flat, and then F in terms of the chords. But if I was to try and recreate the melody, it'd be something like... Which, although is the right chords, melodically probably sounds nothing like the original piece of music. I mean, this guy is very, very good at making use of his left hand. I mean, a lot of the time in pieces, you get just the chord being filled out in the left hand. But in this piece, he's doing a lot of, like, melodic things in his left hand as well. It's super fascinating. You can tell he's a very well-trained pianist before anything else. Yeah, so interestingly, a lot of these tougher sounding sections where he's running up and down the piano are actually probably easier to play than some of the less hard sounding sections. Because they are effectively just arpeggios going up and down the piano, so a chord that's broken up into its notes and then played up and down the piano. I think in some of these arpeggios he's throwing in an extra note. But if you compare that to some of the left-hand stuff where it's moving around, it's actually not as difficult. That almost sounds like a school bell. I know that Animenz sells sheet music versions of all of these pieces, so I'd be very interested to know whether that was written before or after the performance of it. The reason being is because it sounds kind of semi-improvised, where he maybe had an idea about what he was going to play and then just kind of did what he wanted to do. So I would be incredibly impressed if he notated it all out first and then can play it in exactly the same way every time. I think it's probably more likely that he maybe had a general idea about what he was going to do and then kind of does it slightly different each time. Or maybe he's only ever played this piece once. I have no idea. I was so scared then that was going to be the 4-chord sequence, but the last chord saved it. So the chords there are F sharp minor, A major, E major, and then interestingly, F sharp major. This is the thing that I like about anime music. Not that I know anything about anime music, but it always seems to change quite a lot. It almost has the feel and style of popular music, so it's got a really clear melody that you can latch onto and some really obvious chord sequences, like a 4-chord sequence. But you also occasionally get longer phrases and you get some really interesting chords thrown in that you don't get in pop music. So getting something like... You would just never get something like that in popular music, and I think that helps make it feel like you're going on a journey, which I think is what anime music is really good at, which almost makes it a really good hybrid between popular music and popular chord sequences and classical music, which focuses much more on the journey of a piece. This is exactly what I mean. So here you get C sharp minor, and then A major, and then B major, before you go E, and then G sharp minor with a D sharp in the bass. If this was a pop song, you get C sharp minor, A major, E major, and then B major. But those last two chords are switched around, and then you get like a bass note that goes back down to the beginning, which is just so much more interesting to listen to. It's also really interesting that the melody lands on a B when you've got an A chord. So you get that kind of add to chord. It's just super interesting. Yeah, and I don't know whether this is the actual arrangement of the original piece of music or whether this is just Animenz's piano arrangement of it. But the second time he plays that same chord sequence, he starts in the left hand with a G sharp playing an E major chord, which means for every chord this bass note can rise. So you're getting like a really nice weak chord, followed by that A major chord with that extra note in it. And at the same time, this bass note is constantly lifting. There's just so much emotional juice in it to be squeezed. That was a really weird metaphor, but I'm going with it. I mean, the chords here, E minor, D major with an F sharp in the bass, G major, A major, and then C major. It's kind of borrowing chords and changing key quite a bit, and it's so interesting. And also, you've got this rising bass note again. It almost reminds me a little bit of musical theatre and how those pieces and songs are written. Yeah, once again, he's got that crazy left hand going on. I think for the most part, it's arpeggios with kind of added notes in it. I think, to be honest, most of the chords in this piece of music are kind of like normal chords with added notes in. Which means when he is doing these kind of runs on the piano up and down in the left hand or the right hand, there are a lot of options of notes that he can add in from the chord. So that right hand part is kind of a perfect example. So it's kind of like an E minor chord with an F sharp and an A in it, which is 5 consecutive notes. So when you're doing the run, you kind of have loads of options as to what you can do. And because there's a lot of notes, you can kind of roll your hand down really quickly. I'm really loving that ascending thing. It's super cool and very fun to play. mean, that's got to be one of the most fun and exciting pieces I've listened to in quite some time. I think the thing is, with these types of pieces, there's so much in them, and there's so much freedom in the way that they've been written. The pieces use some really interesting chords, and they're really not afraid of changing and not sticking to like a 4-bar verse chorus structure. They really are more written like a narrative and more like a story. So by the end of it, you feel really fulfilled because you're almost as tired as the player is just by being taken on that journey. I assume these pieces are probably shortened when they're played as part of whatever anime show that they're on, but I really enjoyed that. So if there are any other Animenz pieces that you want me to watch, or there are any other anime pieces that you want me to react to, then let me know in the comments. And if you want to see my reaction to a pianist called Peter Bucher's top 10 piano performances, then head on through and I will see you there.